So hey everyone, welcome into our YouTube channel, and today we are going to solve a new question from our top interview 150 question series. And today's question title is Contains Duplicate Part 2. So let's understand the question first. So we have been given an integer array nums and an integer k, and we have to return true if we have two distinct indices I and j, and the array is such that nums I is equals to nums j, and absolute value of I minus j should be less than equals to k. So in this question, what it is saying that we have to find the two indices whose values are same, and the absolute difference between their indices should be less than equals to k. So these three are the condition. If all these are satisfied, then you have to return true, and in other case you have to return false. Now let's understand this question more clearly and find the solution. So here you can see that I have taken the first example, and in this example you can see that we have nums and we have k, and these are the three conditions. Which if these three conditions are satisfied, then we can simply return true, and otherwise you return false. So let's understand in this example. So in this example you can see that we have two values, first at the first index and second at the last index, which is 1, which are equal. So we can name it I, and second we can name it j. So you can see that first is satisfied, that means I is not equals to j. Second is also satisfied, that means I nums I is equals to nums j. And for third you can check that here I is equals to 0 and here j is equals to 3. So if you subtract, you will get absolute value equals to 3. Here absolute means we have to return the positive value, that means we have to take the positive, we have to ignore the negative part. So it is equals to k, that means 3. So that's why it has written true. Now how we can do that? So first what we need to do is that we are finding that if nums I equals to nums j. So you can simply use two for loop, and you can start by first at the first index, and you can traverse the j in the next indices. So by doing so, using two for loop, you can traverse through all the indices and their next indices, and you can simply check that if num size equals to nums j. If you find that, you can also check the absolute value, and because I is not equals to 0 is already satisfied if you use the for loop in correct way. And to find the absolute value, you can simply subtract I minus j, and you can check if it is less than equals to k or not. And if you traverse through whole integer array nums, then you can simply return false if you do not find it. And whenever all the conditions are satisfied, that point you can simply return true. Now this is the first approach, and the time complexity is going to be n square. Now let's consider the second approach. So what we need to do is that we need to decrease the time complexity. So how we can do that? So in order to do that, as we have done in the previous questions that you haven't seen, that what we are doing, that whenever we need to store the unique index and their value to formulate or do any calculation in further, you are simply using hash map, and we are storing in a map. So what we are going to do is that we are going to take a map M, and in this map we are going to store their indices and their values, and using this map only we are going to find the if the num size equals to nums j or not, and we are also going to satisfy that our absolute I minus j is less than equals to k or not. So let's see how we can do that. There is a better way in which I am going to solve this question. So let's understand by coding. So as I mentioned that we are going to take an ordered map. So let's take it. On ordered map of type int comma int. Let's name it m. Now we are going to run a for loop, and in this for loop we are going to run it our nums integer array. So we are going to start int I equals to 0, I less than nums dot size I plus plus. So what we need to do is that we need to insert the value in our unordered map. So we are going to do the same. So we are going to write m nums I is equals to I. So what we have done that in our unordered map we have stored the value and its respective index. Now next what I need to do is that, so let's do it in the above. So we are going to check that if our current value is already present in our unordered map or not. If it is present, that means it is the same value. So that means num I is num equals to nums j would be satisfied. So we are, how we can check that? We can check that by m dot count which value we need to find. We need to find nums I. So if it is present, then this value, this count function is going to return 1, and if it is not, it is going to return 0. So if it is present, it is going to return 1, and we are into our if condition. Now again, what we need to check, that if our absolute I minus j is less than equals to k or not. So how we can check? We can write I minus our m nums I. So if this is less than equals to k, so if this condition is satisfied, then we can simply return true. Now, what if the else condition? So if let's assume that this is not equals to 1, that means you do not find it. So you have already moved to the next index. Now let's assume a second condition. That means if this condition is not satisfied, that means you do not able to satisfy this condition. That means your I minus j is not less than equals to k. That means it is greater than k. So in order to make sure that the difference is less, so here why we are taking it below this condition is that it is going to update our value, because previously our I is less, but when we are not able to find this, then what we need to do is that we need to update our I. Because if we do not update our I, then what happens is that if you find the same value again, then what happens that your I is already less, so the difference is also going to be more. So this condition is never going to be satisfied. So in order to satisfy this, we have taken this below and we have not taken it above. So it is going to update our value at this position, that means at this key. Now after this, what we need to do, we need to return false. That means we have searched and we do not able to find, that means it is satisfied all the condition. Now let's run this question, this solution. So this is accepted. Now let's try submit this. So this is accepted. So this is a very interesting question, and here we have seen multiple approaches and there are multiple concepts inside it. So make sure to understand it more clearly, and you can also watch this video again. So thank you for all. This is for today's video. Let's meet up in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.